Hello YouTubers and welcome to Novus Talks with me, your host Novus Corvius. And I just wanted to take some time to talk about the 9th generation of consoles because it's a new era, it's a new time. It's not every day we get to see new consoles getting released. In fact, excluding the Switch, the last time a generation came around was like 2013. This week, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X launched, and even Nintendo themselves, Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo of North America, congratulated both Sony and Microsoft on the launch of their consoles, similar to how Jeff Keighley praised Nintendo for the launch of the Switch back in 2017. And so I just wanted to take a moment to talk about the next generation, where Nintendo fits into that. Because that's the big dilemma in all of this. For as advanced as these new consoles are, and for as successful as they're inevitably going to be, where does that leave Nintendo? Because, as we know, the 8th generation was a bit odd, since halfway through the generation, Nintendo came out with the Switch, which was the successor to the Wii U. They kickstarted the 8th generation with the Wii U, and now they're finishing it off with the Nintendo Switch. And obviously the debate's been going around whether the Switch is an 8th gen console or is it the first of the 9th gen. I'm not really going to get into all of that, especially since I don't really know anything around like hardware specs and things like that. So that isn't really my whole foray of knowledge, to be completely honest. But with Nintendo being, I don't want to say behind, but they're definitely in a weird position out on their own with this current generation, since the Switch has been out 3 years now before the launch of these new consoles. And the Switch is doing exceptionally well. That must be noted. The Switch just outsold the NES recently, making it Nintendo's second highest selling console of all time. Second only to the Nintendo Wii, which had 105 million units. And to my knowledge, right now, the Switch is closing up on 70 million, I believe. It's somewhere between 60 to 70 at the moment, but it's definitely getting higher each day. And by the end of the Switch's life, I think it will have outsold the Wii. If not, then it will at least have reached, I'd say, about 90 million. But of course, that was all due to the fact that Nintendo kind of had a head start with the Switch, since when it came out back in 2017, Microsoft and Sony were still making games and focusing on the PS4 and the Xbox One. So Nintendo kind of had a head start with exciting new hardware and new exclusives and all that sort of stuff. But now that the PS5 and the Xbox Series X are on the scene, it means all the focus is going to be on those consoles and what those games have to offer and everything that can be delivered with those consoles. So obviously the question is, can Nintendo continue the momentum they've had with the Switch into 2021 beyond with these new consoles on the way? And I think they can. Funnily enough, even in a year with a pandemic going on around the world, the Switch still sold millions of units. It sold millions of software units on top of that. So the Switch wasn't really affected. They had problems, of course, shipping units back in the summer, as you would expect, but in terms of people actually wanting to buy these consoles and going out and purchasing games, it's been higher than ever. In fact, Nintendo had an increase of like 33% on sales, I think, during the summer months. So the Switch is still insanely successful, even with the pandemic going on. So with that out there, the momentum is definitely there for Nintendo to keep going and keep pushing the Switch sales as far as they can and keep selling more software units. But of course, a big part of the way Nintendo can counteract the PS5 and the Xbox Series X is with exclusives, first-party games, which admittedly we currently don't know anything about from Nintendo. We have Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity that comes out this week. It comes out on Friday, and other than that, we don't know what's up. Bayonetta 3, Breath of the Wild 2 and Metroid Prime 4 are still... They don't have release dates. They're still to be confirmed. So those games are up in the air. They're coming eventually, but... I mean, I imagine one or two of them would have to come next year, but I said that about 2020 and 2019 with Bayonetta 3, so I don't know. I don't know if any of those games are going to come in 2021. I'd like to believe one or two of them would, but I'm not sure. But other than that, there's bound to be other exclusives Nintendo have that they haven't announced yet. You know, people keep going on about maybe Pikmin 4 or maybe a new Kid Icarus, a new Star Fox. The same kind of discussions we always have. A new Metroid game even. And I don't know. We haven't seen any evidence in that. There's been a lot of rumors and stuff, as there usually is, but there hasn't been any sort of concrete evidence to back up a lot of these claims. Although, with Breath of the Wild, it does seem like that would be the most likely game for Nintendo to release to counteract the sales of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, since Breath of the Wild 1 was a launch title for the Switch and it sold gangbusters. Everyone and their grandmothers bought that game. So it would make sense that with a game as lightning successful as that, the sequel could be just as successful, and then obviously Nintendo knows that, so they would want to get the sequel out as soon as possible. And with these new consoles here now, currently, it would seem like a perfect time to release Breath of the Wild 2 sometime in the next few months. Maybe for the 35th anniversary, I don't know. I don't even know myself if I believe it's a 2021 release. But if it is, and for the argument's sake of the video, we'll say it is. If it's a 2021 release, it will definitely help keep Nintendo going strong through next year. For argument's sake, as I said, we'll say it's a August release of next year. Then that means Nintendo presumably will have the same amount of success as they did with the first game, and that'll help them quite a lot with staying up on par with their rivals. And obviously they would need other first-party games and stuff to help them out there. And I don't know what they have, honestly. I don't even really theorize on that anymore. I haven't done that at all in 2020 because Nintendo has been completely unpredictable this year. More so than ever. Because with the pandemic, we haven't had Nintendo Directs. We didn't have E3. We don't even know if Nintendo's going to be at the Game Awards. So we don't really know what's up with Nintendo and their method of announcing games, since the games that did come out in 2020 were shadow dropped. Paper Mario the Origami King came out 2 months after it was announced, and Hyrule Warriors is coming out 2 months after it was announced. So this is a thing Nintendo was doing this year, and since they have a tendency to shadow drop these games randomly without any warning, who's to say that's not going to happen going into the next few months of next year? Maybe at the Game Awards or even in January, Nintendo will have something big to announce, a big first-party game, like a really big selling game. I don't know if it would be a Mario Kart or if it would be a Mario Odyssey 2 or anything like that. It could be a new IP, it could be an established franchise that's been forgotten. The possibilities are endless with what Nintendo could do. But as I mentioned, and as we already know, Nintendo always surprises us. They like to surprise us. They could do literally anything. For all we know, Bayonetta 3 could be one of these games Nintendo plans to release to go up against sales of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. But I don't know if something like that alone would be enough to keep Nintendo going strong during the next few months. But we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. It's early days, but it is exciting regardless to see new consoles finally arrive and to see the next generation kick off and to see a whole new era of gaming come to life. And all the best to Sony and Microsoft, I guess. And yeah, with that all said, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. How do you think Nintendo is going to counteract the sales of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X? What first-party games do you think they've got going? Do you think they'll have new hardware? That's something I didn't mention in the video, but do you think they'll have like a Switch Pro or something like this? Personally, it's not something I believe is happening, but maybe it is something they have planned. But you know, if you think they have it planned or something, some form of new hardware, let me know down in the comment section below. And yeah, with that all said, please like and subscribe and comment down below. Novus Corvius out.